Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt Atchity, and here with my mom, Jan Atchity. She's joining us today with Christy, Lemire, and Alonso Duralde to talk about Borat Subsequent Moviefilm. There's a couple other different versions of this title, but that's the one that there is probably the easiest, shortest one to say. Christy, why don't you describe it for us?
Yes. Jigjamesh. Borat is back in USA. Yeah, so it's 14 years since the first Borat, right? And so the tricky thing is, of course, that everyone knows who Borat is. Everyone knows who Sacha Baron Cohen is in this role. So he had a couple of different challenges here in making this sequel. A, everyone knows who he is, so the element of surprise and novelty is gone. But B, the shockingly racist and anti-Semitic and misogynistic stuff that he tricked people into saying, they just overtly say all the time now, right? It's just out there. But he got him to do it still nonetheless, and we still have quite a few shocking moments here and quite a few really serious laughs. So the plot is ridiculously complicated, but but I will try to summarize it as easily as possible for you. So Borat has become really famous in Kazakhstan for having made the first Borat movie, and he has to go back to the United States to find a way to cozy up to Trump, who is a great leader in his estimation, and he needs to offer him a gift, a bribe, and they figured that the best way to do that is to get to somebody close to him, and so he goes back to America, but he doesn't realize. And he has this monkey with him, which is supposed to be the bribe. It's Kazakhstan's most famous porn star, Johnny the Monkey. And he has Johnny the Monkey in this little crate, all packaged up and ready to go. But what he does not realize is that his 15-year-old daughter, played by Maria Bakalova, who is amazing, and we'll get to her in a bit, she has stowed away inside of this crate. And he doesn't really know her because women don't matter in this society, or to Borat, because he is so, ridiculously misogynistic. And so it is the whole gonzo guerrilla process of Borat showing up in places. And because he is now famous, he has to don a variety of outlandish, stereotypically American Halloween costumes and disguises. And so he's like a farmer with overalls. He wears ridiculous mustaches and hats and beards and things. And he realizes that the daughter can be helpful in getting close to Trump. So they try to get close to Pence. They go to CPAC. Eventually, they figure out a way to insinuate themselves with Rudy Giuliani, which has now become a very famous scene, which I kind of had been hoping not to spoil, but now it's out there. So we kind of have to talk about it now.
I followed the Amazon instructions in my review where they were like, please don't reveal the famous people in this movie. And I was like, okay, I can ride around that. That's fine. And then
it's hard.
When the target of your sting operation reveals the spoiler to your movie.
I mean, yeah, back in July, Rudy did complain that he had been punked by Sacha Baron Cohen, but we didn't realize exactly what the details were in terms of the compromising position that he found himself in this hotel room. So it's
right, but I'm sorry. I mean, this week is the week that Rudy really spoiled it, and this week was right when he tweeted about it. Yeah.
So it's, it is not as funny as the original Borat. It's not consistently so, and what possibly could be, because the thrill of the novelty is gone, and because it's just a totally different world. The Trump era is so totally different. Still worthy of skewering, certainly, but the absurdity that film revealed is just our everyday existence now. And so the bite is gone.
Yeah, you don't have to put a wig on to get people to say noxiously racist stuff. They'll just go to Twitter. It's all there.
Although there's a couple of scenes that I was shocked at. The thing with the cake, what he gets the woman at the bakery to write on the cake was kind of shocking to me. And then with the doctor, and then the whole debutante scene, I was crying laughing at. It is so hilariously gross and peak Sacha Baron Cohen strangeness. I do appreciate how he is still, after all these years, so committed and will so put himself in danger and just go for it for the bit. And Maria Bakalova, was that?
She found someone to go there with him.
And she's crucial to this thing coming together cohesively. I mean, she brings a lightness and a sweetness and a humanity to it that otherwise would just be like Sacha Baron Cohen doing the same bits over and over again. So I laugh quite a bit, but not as much.
I didn't. I really kind of cringed through most of this. I think there are a few funny moments here and there, but I think it's just that the world has changed so much. Not just that people don't have to be fooled into being awful on camera or in public, but I think also just in our understanding of how movies like this get made. And you know, when you see that some of the faces of people in the background are blurred out, you think, okay, so everybody who's in this movie saying and or doing something really terrible signed a release. Like they agreed to be in this thing. I mean, like maybe Giuliani probably didn't, but I'm sure that's a different thing. But like the regular folks agreed to be in this thing. And, you know, vis-a-vis the cake lady, yes, he gets her to write this offensive thing on a cake. But as our LAFCA colleague Luke Thompson pointed out on Facebook, nobody ever talks about when they discuss the Borat movies, like the kind of shit that people in the service industry have to put up with. And the stuff, the opinions that you hear or that are presented to you, or the things that they ask you for that you have to just kind of like, all right, this is what they want, I'm going to do that. So every time I felt like he was getting at something, which he is, and I mean, I'm politically, I'm on his side. I agree with what he's going after, but in the way that it's presented in these movies, it just kind of felt like this is somehow weirdly manipulated, or they're in on the bit, or they don't care about the bit enough not to have signed the release. I didn't laugh very much, frankly, and obviously part of that is that we're all undergoing this collective COVID trauma, and so here we are, like, trying to goof on it, and there's this whole COVID joke subplot where I'm like, maybe later this will be funny, but right now this is not funny for me.
So, you know, you raise a good question, Alonso, because like, for instance, with the woman writing the thing on the cake that, you know, is offensive, you wonder, did they get her to sign the release ahead of time or afterwards? Right? Like, she knows she's being filmed.
She hasn't batted an eye.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, is she? Because I think that that matters a little bit, right? Like that may change to where somebody's mindset is. The other thing that I found fascinating in this, and I think he actually, in some respects, I think partly because we've become numb to some of the stuff we hear, right? Like you can only hear about so much QAnon bullshit that when somebody's trying to, like you said, skewer people for saying this out loud, like, man, the news has got people saying that all the time.
When are they not saying it out loud?
Right. But when Cohen is, you know, like when he first addresses the pandemic and quarantine, Borat walks up to this guy. He's like, I've got no place to stay. Can I stay with you? And the guy gives him a look. And then the next thing you see is they're on the way to his house. Like, and so for as much as that guy and his roommate are spewing these crazy conspiracy theories, that dude invited a perfect stranger into his house.
A perfect stranger with a camera crew, though.
Right,
like, again, he had some idea of what he was in for here.
Well, but
I think what we're seeing isn't necessarily the entire negotiation of how that plays out.
Supposedly they're real people too. Supposedly the QAnon guys and the woman who babysits the daughter are all real people.
Right. And I could see that if it's Borat and, I mean, look, like you could shoot those scenes with Borat and one camera operator with, you know, you don't need a sound guy, you don't need lighting guys. Like you could do that's super guerrilla style. But that guy let a stranger into his house, right? And it then becomes hard to write. It would otherwise be easy to write off people spewing stuff like the QAnon ridiculousness, but he opened his home, and I think that says something. Coupled with, then when they start going through that awful book, The Guide to Raising a Daughter, and Borat showed him those pictures, and those two guys were like, no. That's no. Those are lies. It's not like that. And I feel like Cohen's dropping the ball on what he's trying to do because he's now humanizing these folks. And then, so what's the solution, right? Where he's pointing fingers and messing with everybody else. So like
he's both sidesing it. Like there's very fine people.
I don't know that he's both sidesing. I think he's backs himself into a corner in a couple of places that it's like, oh, we can't, like the original movie and some of the stuff that you would see on the Ali G show, like, oh my God, these people are terrible, right? But you also get these moments where, you know, similar, akin to The Babysitter, right? where it's like, oh, there's actually people are more than just black and white. Like there's depth here.
Right.
In
She's
some
like the voice
cases,
of reason who comes along. And we should wrap in a bit. We should talk about the Rudy scene real fast, because I feel like clearly they have hidden cameras in that hotel room, right? So Maria Bakalova is playing a conservative TV news reporter, and she wrangles an interview with Rudy. For whatever reason, he's got security guys staged at the door, but he doesn't have anybody in the room with him. He has no publicist. He has no assistant. He has no security person in the room with him. She's flirting. She's plying him with alcohol. She's putting her hand on his knee and complimenting him. And he's just being creepy and showing all the dentures. And then he agrees to go with her into the bedroom of the suite. And clearly there are hidden cameras there. And it captures him, asking for her phone number and caressing her backside, and then laying back on the bed. And he says it's to tuck his shirt in after the microphone had been taken off. But he's like laying down with his hand down his pants in a bedroom, drinking alcohol with this young woman. Here's my question. Were they just banking on the possibility that he would do that, right? They've got the hidden cameras staged. Let's say he says no to the bedroom and leaves. They've at least got an awkward interview that they can use. I wonder about that. This happened to be a guerrilla tactic that paid off, a gamble that paid off.
Probably. I mean, a little bit of it is like the stuff they get him saying about China and the flu is crazy enough, right?
Yeah.
Like that stuff that he says, like, China created the flu and they released it. And like the stuff that he's saying in the interview part is already batshit.
Although it's something that you would say on Fox News with no provocation.
But it's already bonkers, right? Yeah. There is no good reason for him to go into that bedroom. There is no professional reason for him to have gone into that bedroom.
And we've all taken off mic packs, and they don't involve your zipper.
Right.
You don't involve lying down on a bed. Hello.
Right. There's zero reason to have done that. The other thing that I'm somewhat wondering about is, does Cohen come in at the time that he comes in specifically to not put Bakalova in a position where he's knowingly allowed her to get sexually assaulted?
I know the answer to this.
Yes.
There is that, but there's also like a point at which you cannot have a hidden camera and have it be like legal. Like if you are illegally, if you have hidden cameras recording sexual activity, that is not legal. So they walked up to the line of something happening.
And he was concerned for her safety too.
I think that too, but I think also to make this video usable.
Yes.
He walked right up to the line where it would be, where there was no sexual activity happening, and then staged it and then barged in.
He said in interviews that he wanted to make sure that nothing was going to happen.
That too. Yes.
So, I mean,
fundamentally, yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's like I like Baron Cohen. I agree with him, in a lot of ways politically. I am, in theory, was down for this idea. I was very uncomfortable and not happy and not amused watching it. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just the accumulation of this year and all of the awfulness that I'm not ready to find this funny yet, but I just didn't find this funny.
I want to mention really fast too, before we go, there are outtakes on Twitter. And on the official Borat Twitter feed, it's at Borat Sagdiev. And the one that I watched this morning is that Chanel Rion from OAN, the president's preferred ultra conservative news network, brings Borat's daughter in as the reporter character into the White House. She gets she's on the White House ground. She's talking to Chanel Rion. No COVID test. She just gets in. So anyway, they have security breaches everywhere. I'm saying 7.2. I laughed enough, and it was shocking at times, but did not love it like I love the first one.
Yeah, I think, what did I say? 7?
You said 7.
I said 4. I was I know I'm in the minority on this one. The tomato number is way higher than that, but I was within the first 10 minutes. I was like, oh God, this is not, it just didn't work for me.
We should mention also Jason Wollner directed this. Larry Charles did not direct this one.
No, new guy. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Borat Subsequent Moviefilm is now streaming on Amazon. And you can keep up with us at Be Fast All Day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and of course, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're wrapping up our recaps of first seasons of The Vow and Lovecraft Country. Coming up, we've got The Mandalorian and the October horror film chosen by our subscribers. Lots of other fun stuff over there as well. So check it out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Oh, and Mom, where can people find you? Palm Desert?
Oh, you can find me in the desert.
Okay.
Yeah. Out by my pool.